Hey, it's Sam, and here's Matt. Pull up a chair, let's have a chat. Sobering thoughts, we're peeling it back. Two minds on the mend, truth we can't pretend. Laughs and lessons will blend. Recovery's a ride, no map, no guide. But here we stand, side by side.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt from Sobering Thoughts Recovery with Sam and Matt.
I'm Sam. Hello, everyone, to all of our listeners. I just want to give a trigger warning to everyone that may be listening. Probably best not to have your children around. There could be some things that we discuss in this episode that could be a trigger for some people. Over to you, Matt.
So, today's going to be a bit of a mishmash of just everything in an episode. We're going to start off with some recovery myths, which we kind of almost, as AOD treatment workers, kind of come into contact with weekly with our residents. So, like busting stereotypes about people in recovery is one thing. One of the biggest ones I hear that people tell me is once a junkie, always a junkie. Sam, what are your thoughts on that?
So, my thoughts firstly, I don't like the word junkie, but um, once a junkie, always a junkie. Yes, I do believe that is the case, but more about if you have used drugs or alcohol and are in recovery from drugs or alcohol. So if addiction has made your life unmanageable, yes, it's going to make your life unmanageable. So yes, I really believe that saying. But I don't like the word once a junkie, always a junkie, Matt.
And
Like
it's
that's
such it makes you feel disgusting, especially when you're in recovery.
I remember many, many years ago, one of my ex said to me, "You're a junkie," and I almost died. I could not believe what he was telling me. Um, do you know what I mean? Like that's a really harsh word, Matt.
It can be. I mean, I remember an auntie of mine saying it to me one day. Her brother was an alcoholic. And, she said to me, once a junkie, always a junkie. And hearing it from a family member, it really hurt. Just the same as the saying, once an addict, always an addict.
But is it the word junkie or is it the word, that you're an addict, Matt, that you could be an addict for the rest of your life? What hurt the most?
I would take addict for the rest of my life over being called a junkie. To me, there's like a subgroup of junkie. Like to me, a junkie is someone who stole for their habit, all right, who actually broke into people's houses and stole to support their score. So that's what a junkie means to me.
But I suppose in the dictionary, I remember many years ago I did look the word up in the dictionary, and it is someone that uses or injects heroin. Um, but I also get offended too when you come across these videos on social media platforms that have someone that could be drug affected, especially on the drug fentanyl, where they're laying, on the ground and they're moving around and they've put a post, oh, look at that junkie. Um, I really find that to be quite. I find it offensive, and it's the word junkie that I find to be an offence for me.
Yeah,
It's I know that in my mind, an addict is someone that has a disease, and to be calling that person a junkie can be quite it's horrible. That person's
yeah.
still a human being that's living with a
That's right. It's
disease.
someone's son, it's someone's daughter, it's someone's mother, it's someone's father. That's it. To be labeled as something as hurtful as that, even in recovery, um, that person doing that labeling just doesn't understand how deep that goes. That when especially fresh in recovery. where our hormones are all over the place. We're depressed, we're anxious, we're suffering. To hear that from someone who may be a close friend or family member can be devastating.
100%. So I've just Googled the word junkie. It says dictionary, a drug addict, a person with a compulsive habit or an obsessive dependency or something, power junkies.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
That's interesting, interesting stuff. So moving on, how do friends and family, how did your friends specifically and family react when you got clean?
I know my dad was very supportive of me. I remember calling dad from rehab, and dad was so happy to hear, you know, uh, I was talking, I was talking quite, I suppose, better than I had in years. Dad said that you sound a lot clearer, you sound a lot healthy. It sounds like the old Sammy's back. My mum, on the other hand, my mum was a hard one to get through. I mean, mum and I were very estranged for so many years. And, um, but yeah, look, I'm unsure. It was more dad support that I had rather than my mum. I think mum really couldn't understand that one of her three girls was, using drugs because I wasn't brought up that way. But then there's the old myth, like monkey see, monkey do. And I never seen my parents using drugs or alcohol. Maybe dad had a drink after work in the evening, but never to the point where he was drinking to become drunk. So, and I was one of three girls, and I was the black sheep of the family.
Oh, labeling yourself the black sheep now.
Well,
Bah.
yeah, yeah, I know, and
I
it's
mean,
funny
I
that.
do the same thing to myself. Like, I have an older sister
Mm,
who is a professional. I love her dearly. If she's listening, hello. And you know, it makes you feel that way. That yeah, you get painted that black sheep color
hundred
for
percent.
something you did now for me 21 years ago.
I remember my younger sisters telling me I was a Westie. Do you know what I mean? So I went out and bought flannelette shirts. You're going to call me that? Oh, okay.
Just
I
label it.
was fine with the word Westie, but
Ugg boots, flannelette shirt, and a
yeah,
beanie, and you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, the black sheep.
So, I mean, for me, as I said in our first episode, I was outed by my sister Christmas lunch. Um, so how did my friends react to it? I had to build friends again because I moved away. So by the time I was ready to socialize again and probably get into a group of people um, that felt comfortable with, that I told, hey, look, I'm in early recovery of this. I think they were understanding. I think there were a couple of bit standoffish until they knew me better.
Mm, mm.
This is when I was living on the South Coast. So I think,
But you are what you hang around, and I believe that saying. I know for myself is when I went into recovery, I remember deleting 200 and something odd friends off one of my social media platforms.
yeah,
And that was the way it was. I really had to do a 360 in my life in order to change my lifestyle, change my friends, and really become the person I am today.
I think that's mainly what I did. I mean, as I said, when I got comfortable again in making friends, making sure that I had boundaries in place, that they were the type of friends that were going to be a positive, um, reaction to my recovery. That they weren't, into the drug scene. They weren't, heavy drinkers. They weren't, violent people. When we got on, so it was a small group. I remember it was only about 5 or 6 of us, but it was a tight knit group.
Mm.
and we made sure that we all supported each other. And then when I came out to them, that I was recently, this is what I used to be. I was an intravenous drug user. They were supportive. They said, "Hey, Matty, you're going to do that again?" And I said, "No. It's in my past now."
Did they ever make judgment on you though? Did you see some sort of hesitation from them when you told them that?
I think they looking back, and that's a long time ago now. I can't remember. I don't think I came out to like their parents. I think just as they knew about it.
Mm.
Like I wouldn't have said to my friend's parents, "Oh, by the way, I was an intravenous drug user," um, because I felt probably then I would have got stigma and labelled, probably told don't hang around him kind of thing. But I knew then that it was going to be in my past, and I knew it was going to stay in my past, even though it was literally 6 months into recovery, if that, that I started probably making a larger circle, a social circle.
Yeah, interesting. I remember being very proud of being in recovery. I remember telling everyone, "Oh, I just did 10 months of rehab," and being very proud of that. And I think that comes from um, doing the hard yards in rehab, really changing my life because my life was really terrible when I was in addiction. I had really no friends. I really had no family. I had no one. So going into rehab, um, you know, telling people that I was in recovery, some people I could see the reaction on their face. Oh, like, okay, what did you use? What brought you to rehab? And some hesitation in some people. And other people were great. Oh my God, you made that change in life. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. I mean, who do you think, looking back now, helped you the most? What stories of like unlikely supporters do you think back now? Because you had a couple, you had a relapse 6 or 7 years ago now.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah, so
going on 7 years ago, I think.
7 years. So looking back now, any unlikely supporters you think come forward that you thought never would have come forward before and helped you in your recovery?
My mother.
Yeah, right. And you just said that she was a bit estranged.
That's right.
Yeah,
We were estranged for so many years. Um, Very difficult relationship on both sides. But I think the that saying, they talk the talk, but you need to walk the walk. So after a few years of being in recovery after my second relapse, my mum could see that I was very serious about, cleaning my life up, um, maintaining a household, paying my rent, paying my bills, getting a job, especially getting full
yeah,
time work because I couldn't hold down a job in previous years. Um, that was, I suppose, the breakthrough for my mum in
mm,
particular. My dad was very supportive. Even throughout my addiction, I could tell that my father loved me dearly, but um, he just couldn't keep up with, I suppose, my behavior. But I knew that my dad, loved me. Okay, my mum might have loved me, but she showed it in a different way.
yeah. Mum, I feel like very much similar, where my dad was very supportive and asked me questions like, "Is it over now?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, it's over now. I'm done with it." Where mum was more like, "I love you, son, but I'm disappointed in you," kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yep.
That's what I got from her. It took a while. Even today, like I speak to my mum every day on the drive home from work, just to catch up every day, just to talk. And she will often say, well, "How are you?" You know when I'm getting run down, know where I'm not, not myself.
Because your parents didn't really know that you were in addiction until you sort of, finished or
Well, that's
stopped
right.
using, and,
Yeah,
and then you told them.
yeah,
See, on the other hand, with myself, my parents knew that I was using drugs.
yeah,
And that wasn't because they could see me drug affected, it was from my behaviour because I moved out of home when I was 17.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it was a different it was a different quite a
Mm,
different story to what you
mm.
have.
So in recovery, there's a lot of things and a lot of, especially early recovery, a lot of stuff, a lot of emotions come up, especially things like anger and frustration.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
Um, I myself was very angry and frustrated um, when I first was in recovery because of the things that I lost. I say a lot. Look, I don't regret the times I had on amphetamines. I regret the things I lost, and
Mm.
that made me angry because I lost a beautiful partner at the time. The
But you lose
You
everything.
do. I lost my respect of my family, respect of the friends that I had. I had to start all over again, and I wasn't just angry at the drug. I was angry at myself. I was frustrated that I let myself be led down that path by other people.
Yeah, that guilt and shame is so intense, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that I got led down just, so easily, being, as we said, that black sheep.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Um,
It's just one of those things that just happens. So moving on to like more recovery stories, and in recovery can be great in ways where it's just absolute, can be a superpower. And the superpower can come in like many ways. Like you can get better sleep, there's more money in the bank, your memory changes, you get better memory. I know mine did. Now, 21 years later, I kind of hoard money, like because I never had money before.
but I'm quite the opposite because I've never had money before. Soon as I get it, I spend it.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely the opposite. I feel guilt and shame if I have to go buy new shoes, like $200 shoes. I would feel so guilty over that because I've spent that money.
But why? But can you, I suppose, understand that when you're out, in addiction, you're spending money on drugs, but when you're out there earning money, you can't spend it on yourself. Why is it so difficult?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like if I had no money, I'd be starting all over again, and I'd be back to square one.
Makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
and so like I've got this nest egg that I know that I keep there. That's, it's not much. It's over $5,000, but it's mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but with me, it's quite the opposite. I think because my second relapse, when I had not a lapse, but a relapse, I lost everything, including a brand new car that I, went out and bought. I've never had a brand new car in my life, but I lost everything, my house, my car, all the furniture that I brought, and it was like brand new furniture. So losing everything that I had in my house, including all the clothes that I, built up over the years, I lost everything. So now that I'm working full time and earning, a quid, I'm sort of rebuilding things. And I think that's where it comes from. But there's also that insanity too in my mind is that impulsive buying.
Which can be a part of addiction as well.
That's right.
It takes me back to like speed and the pokies.
Mm.
Right, they go hand in hand. Like if
Well,
I
the
was, if
drink and the pokies go
yeah,
hand in hand.
and like so, if I was high, I would throw hundreds through a poker machine, trying to
Um,
get more money.
I'm quite the opposite. I can't throw money in the card machines or in the
Mm,
pokies. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I rarely do it now, but I definitely back in addiction. Was very very loose on the pokies. Um, I still do it now and then, but I make sure it's like $20 or something. I don't go that hard.
So how do you beat that impulsive compulsion?
I'd prefer the money. I just think
Do,
like I'd rather have that money.
but do you think that because you're not high now,
Mm.
and not in addiction, that compulsion, that thought of, okay, well, I'm hoarding money, as you said before. Um, you're able to think clearer. Is that
I think so. I think the consequential thinking has taken over more in the past 21 years than anything else. Like, that's what I've learned. Like, as I said before, like, I don't regret the times I had while I was high. I regret what I lost, and I lost a lot more.
mm,
You know, I mean, I can think about the times like how stupid, and silly things like reading the trading post at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday morning, think,
love the trading
thinking it was the
post,
most interesting thing in the world while high,
wasn't it?
and going like reading it front to back, and saying it to my friend that I was using with at the time. Look at this, look at that, and just buying just cars and unique cars, and just going through it, and just reading about the cars. Like, oh, they only want $1,500 for this bug eye. Oh, I'd buy that. I'd buy that.
But you didn't have the money in the
But
bank account to buy it.
had never had the money to do it.
I loved the freebie section. I went straight to the freebies, and I loved that, and also looking for rentals as well. So,
Mm,
I was couch surfing there, that part of my addiction, and looking at the rentals, that was exciting too, although I knew I couldn't really hold down paying rent and what have you. It was still a
mm,
bit of a dream in my mind to.
mm. I mean, stories going back in you know in the time of my addiction. I remember one of the worst stories, and I'll bring this up, and I'll apologize to my family now if they're listening. The guy I was living with told me to go shopping with him one night, and I didn't understand what that meant. And if anyone listening, shopping mean was like breaking into houses, and he wanted me to be a lookout. And what his shtick was he would check people's garages and see if garages were open, and then go into their garages and take power tools and things like
Lock
that.
up your
Yeah,
garages, people.
and or what he'd do would go into a garage and go into your car and find your garage remote, and copy the number that was in the back of the remote, and then watch your house and come back later and open up the garage, and get in that way.
Wow.
So he had a big racket going. Anyway, one night he convinced me to go with him as a lookout, and I felt so much guilt, and all I could think of was my family and how disgusting it felt.
Were you in addiction then?
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Right in it. And, how disgusting I felt doing that. And I pleaded with him, like, can we go home? Can we go home? I don't want to do this.
What did you end up doing?
We end up walking home. This was in Glendenning, and walking home and getting in my car, and he knew the lady that he could score off wanted plants. So we would pull up in front of people's houses that had pot plants out the front, and he'd run out and take the pot plants and put them in my car in the back seat or in the boot. And like, I'm talking not like one or two pot plants, I'm talking like 15, 16 pot plants.
I've
Uh,
got such a pot plant and a plant story to
yeah,
tell too.
and the next morning we drove to this lady's place in Dean Park, and had all these pot plants for her, and she'd give us drugs because, as payment kind of thing.
Mm.
um
Things you do when, you're in addiction and you're high.
it's crazy. It's crazy looking
100%.
back now at that story, and like, even bringing that up, I feel, a lot of shame about it. And thinking like, what the hell? Like, why would I do that? Why would I help him do that?
But, that's part of addiction, isn't it? The things that we do when we're using drugs, um, we certainly wouldn't do when we're not using drugs.
Of course, we understand consequences. We understand that, hey, this is not a normal
And we've got a
behavior.
conscience as well, like,
Right.
yeah.
So, moving on, I want to move on to another thing now. Triggers, things that you didn't expect that would trigger you, that had set you off, Sam. Anything you can think of now would set you off, that would be a trigger?
Um, that's a good question. Hard one to answer because, you're not really triggered until you're actually faced with someone. But I know that yelling can be quite a trigger for me. due to the domestic violence
I was
that
going
I
to say
faced,
trauma. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
trauma that I have gone through, maybe yelling. I do watch movies on TV, could have drug use in it. That doesn't actually really trigger me. It
Mm.
does send me back thinking about using, but that doesn't really trigger me. That's a hard one to answer. What about you, Matt? What what's a trigger for you?
I've got a major one. Mine's WD-40, the
Mm.
the grease up spray.
Yep.
To me, it smells like amphetamines.
Yep.
Every time I smell it, it just brings me back straight away.
There's also a dishwashing liquid that smells like speed of amphetamines. I'm
Yeah,
not
really.
sure which one that is, but I do remember smelling a dishwashing liquid that triggers that smell.
Yeah, for me,
Mm.
it's definitely WD-40. Like you, I can watch movies; they don't trigger me. Certain movies, like Friday or Blow with Johnny Depp or anything like that, doesn't really trigger me. It's more the senses, that taste, smell, see, touch, sound kind of thing, that would trigger me. So yeah, definitely, I know my number one trigger would be, um, the WD-40, as that one. I'd have to walk away. I couldn't be near it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the top one I could think of. Luckily enough, not many people use it uh, around where we work,
No.
but it's definitely one of those things that yeah, gets that trigger warning in my brain. Um, and like lastly, as we're just going to finish up, with one more thing to talk about, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. But I just want to talk about it a bit more. Labels, and taking the stigma out of addiction. Look, I'm a firm believer. Labels are for jam jars and jam jars only. When we talk about someone in recovery, we really should say that shouldn't say that person's an addict or they have addiction. They've got substance use disorder or
Mm.
substance use disorder, because that's what it's labeled as correctly. Too many people are too quick to say you're an addict, all right, you're a junkie, when the correct terminology is that substance use disorder. What do you think about that, Sam?
Look, it's that's a difficult one to answer. It depends on what model you're using substance use at. Like if it's the disease model, then addicts have a disease. It's a bit like someone that has I'm unsure about that. I just think that
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of angles that we can look at when it comes to the stigma of alcohol and other drugs.
yeah, look, and what I was trying to say, it's if someone is living with cancer, um, it, cancer, we all know that cancer is a difficult disease for anyone. It's like addiction as well. People just don't wake up thinking that they're going to be an addict one day. I know for myself, I did wake up and say, I want to be an addict for the rest of my life.
Mm.
Um, so I think the more that we get out that addiction or substance use disorder is a disease or um, very similar.
It's something that's happened to you. Like there's many different models. People keep talking about it as it's a generational disease. Right? Would you believe in that? If my parents were
100%.
heavy drinkers, I'm going to be a heavy drinker.
Well, monkey see, monkey do, but it's not always the case, is it
Well,
though?
it's not. During, and let's put in air quotations, you guys can't see as listeners, the 80s. I remember my parents being heavy drinkers. All right. And yet I'm not a heavy drinker. My
Uh,
sister is not a heavy drinker.
but if
All right.
someone's not familiar with a person that uses drugs, their view on that person's going to be very different though.
Of course it is.
And I think that, the stigma around addiction, everyone has their idea of what an addict is. And unfortunately, we get a lot of people in society that think that drug use is a choice. And
Mm.
it's not a choice.
No, that's right.
The decision, to pick up drugs, yes, it can be a choice, but then at the end of the day, that person is quite unwell. And in
Mm.
my experience, I believe that addiction is a disease.
I believe that through my experience alone, it's also environmental, right? It has to be in your environment first.
Mm.
For me, it was in my social environment, and that's what made me gravitate towards more those drugs. I Before that, I was experimenting. Right, I have a bit, had some weed, didn't really like it, did it for a few months, didn't like it, right, and then it was years before I even, like, I'm talking another 3 years before I even had drugs again.
Yeah,
So it for me, it was in the environment. Do I believe that uh, things like alcoholism or substance use disorder is a generational thing? Look, it's
it
hard to
can
tell.
be. It
It
can
can
be.
be.
Look,
It's hard to tell. Like, you want to say monkey see, monkey do. It's definitely hard to. Alpha Bandura talk about
and
social
everyone's different.
learning,
Everyone's got a
and
different
it's
story.
yeah.
With me, I remember at the age of 14, I woke up one morning. I had my tongue was bitten off on the side. I had what they say an epileptic fit. And I was having them in my sleep once every 3 months, and I had a bleed. It wasn't known for years and years that I had a bleed to the brain on my frontal lobe, and the psychiatrist said to me that this may be the cause of your impulsive compulsion behavior,
Mm,
and he said, this could be the underlying factor to why you picked up drugs and used,
okay.
um, coming from the bleed I had to the brain, my frontal
Mm,
lobe, because we all know the frontal lobe, it's got a lot to do with your behaviors, your thinking,
yeah, consequential thinking.
consequent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Mm.
okay. Well, we're going to leave it there, guys. We're going to wrap up. Thank you for listening. Once again, please follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and on Facebook. And this is Matt saying goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Catch you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sobering Thoughts with Sam and Matt. Please leave a like or subscribe, it would help a lot. See you next time for more talk and laughter.